My name is Sophie, and I never thought I'd have to teach my own mother what the word family means. Before I start, I'm changing names and a few identifying details for privacy, but the emotions in the lesson are real. My daughter's name is Ava. She's 7 now, smart, funny, the kind of kid who waves at strangers and believes most people are good. She's also adopted, and in our home, that's never been a secret or a sad story. It's just her story. For a long time, I thought my mom, Diane, accepted that. She came to the adoption finalization. She held Ava's hand in the courthouse hallway. She even cried. I remember thinking, okay, we're going to be fine. But my mother has this quiet obsession with blood. She doesn't say it like a villain. She says it like a concerned person who thinks she's being practical. Little comments started slipping out over the years. She's lucky you chose her. Do you ever wonder about her real parents? When you have one that's yours, you'll understand. I tried to correct her gently at first. I'd smile tightly and say, Mom, she is mine. Or, Ava is our real family. My mom would laugh it off like I was being dramatic, and then she'd change the subject. I was raised to keep the peace. My mom is the type of person who can make the whole room uncomfortable without raising her voice. If you challenge her, she turns it into a performance. She's hurt. She's misunderstood. She's the victim. So most people don't challenge her. They just adapt. Then my sister had a baby, my mom's first biological grandchild, and I watched my mom transform. Suddenly, there were weekly visits. There were photo albums. There were social media posts about our family line. There were framed pictures everywhere. Ava was still invited, but the energy changed. Ava would walk in and my mom would say, "Hi, sweetheart," without looking up from the baby. My mom would buy Ava a small toy and my sister's baby would get a whole bag of gifts. At first, I tried to tell myself Ava didn't notice. But kids notice everything. One night, after we came home, Ava asked me quietly, "Mom, why does Grandma always say I'm adopted when she introduces me?" My stomach dropped, because I knew exactly why. I sat next to her on the couch and said, "Some adults think blood is the only kind of family. But that's not true. Family is who shows up and loves you the right way." Ava nodded, but her eyes looked tired in a way that didn't belong on a child. The breaking point happened at a casual family get-together at my mom's house. Just dinner, people talking over each other, kids running around, the usual chaos. My mom decided she wanted a big family photo. She stood in front of us with her phone up like a director. My sister was placed in the middle, holding her baby like the main character. People shuffled around, laughing, adjusting their shirts. Ava came and stood next to me. She was wearing a little sweater she picked out herself. She smiled and tried to stand still. My mom looked at the screen, squinted, and then said it loud and clear, like it was an obvious request. "Okay, Ava, step out for this one. I want it to be just family." For half a second, I didn't move. My brain literally refused to accept what I heard. The room went quiet, the way it does when something cruel happens, but everyone is afraid to name it. Ava's smile froze. She looked up at me like she was waiting for instructions. Like she thought maybe she did something wrong. I felt heat rising up my neck. I said, "What did you just say?" My mom's expression stayed calm. That calmness made it worse. She shrugged and said, "You know what I mean. This one is for the real family. We can do another one after." She said it like she was offering a reasonable compromise, like my child's belonging was something we could schedule later. Ava took a small step backward, like she was trying to disappear. And that tiny movement, my daughter making herself smaller, hit me harder than any insult my mother had ever thrown at me. I knelt down and took Ava's hands. I said, "You don't step out of rooms to make other people comfortable. You stay with me." Ava squeezed my hand like she was holding on to safety. Then I stood up and faced my mom. I didn't scream. I didn't call her names. I didn't threaten her. I just said the truth, clearly. She is my daughter. If she is not in the photo, I'm not in the photo. My mom rolled her eyes like I was ruining a party. "You're making a scene," she said. "It's just a photo." I looked around the room. My sister stared at the floor. My aunt pretended to check her phone. My dad looked uncomfortable, like he wanted it to stop. Nobody spoke up, and in that silence, I realized something. If I didn't protect Ava right now, I'd be teaching her that love is conditional, that she has to earn her place, that she can be erased. So I took Ava's hand and I walked to the door. My mom called after me, "Sophie, don't be ridiculous. You always do this." I turned back once and said, "No, I'm doing what you won't. I'm choosing my child." We left. In the car, Ava whispered, "Am I not family?" My throat tightened. I pulled her into a hug and said, "You are my family. You're my heart. And anyone who can't treat you like family doesn't get access to us." That night, after Ava fell asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with my husband and I made a decision. My mom wanted to draw a line between real and not real. Fine. I was about to draw a line too. The next morning, my mom acted like nothing happened. She sent me a text with a random picture from the dinner table. No apology, no acknowledgement, just a casual, "Had fun yesterday." That used to work on me. My mom has always been good at resetting the world before anyone can hold her accountable, but I couldn't do that anymore. Not after seeing Ava's face. So I replied, "We need to talk about what you said." My mom answered, "About what? You stormed out over a picture." I wrote back, "You asked my daughter to step out because you said she isn't real family." A long pause. Then she sent, "I didn't say that. Don't twist my words." That's when something in me went quiet, not weak, not defeated. Quiet like a lock clicking into place. I called her. I wanted to handle it like an adult, not like a messy comment section. When she picked up, I said, "Mom, you humiliated Ava. You told her she isn't family. You need to apologize to her." My mom exhaled like I was exhausting. "She's a kid," she said. "She'll forget." I said, "No. And even if she did, I won't." My mom's voice sharpened. "So now you're punishing me?" I took a breath because I knew where this was going. I kept my tone calm on purpose. "I'm not punishing you," I said. "I'm protecting my child. That's my job." Then I gave her the boundary, simple and clear. If you want to be in Ava's life, you treat her like a full grandchild. No real family comments. No separating her. No introducing her like she's a footnote. You apologize and you change the behavior. My mom laughed short and dismissive. "You can't force feelings," she said. "I'm not trying to force feelings," I replied. "I'm controlling access. You don't get access to Ava while you treat her like she's less." That's when she switched tactics. Suddenly, she was wounded. "After everything I've done for you," she said, "you're choosing—" She stopped herself, but I could hear the rest in her throat. I said, "Don't finish that sentence." Silence. Then my mom said, "You're tearing the family apart." And I said something I had never said to her before. "No. You did that when you decided my child wasn't family." My mom hung up. Within an hour, the messages started. My sister texted, "Why are you being so harsh?" My aunt, "Your mom didn't mean it that way." A cousin, "Families are complicated. Don't hold grudges." Nobody asked how Ava felt. Nobody asked what it did to her. They were all focused on one thing: getting me back in line so gatherings could feel normal again. I typed, erased, typed again. I wanted to write a long explanation, to defend myself like I was on trial, but then I imagined Ava reading those messages someday. I imagined her learning that adults can call her not family, and everyone will rush to protect the adult's feelings. So I kept it short. "I'm not arguing," I replied. "I'm setting a boundary to protect my child." Some people stopped replying after that. A few got colder, and then my dad surprised me. He called later that night. His voice sounded quieter than usual. "I heard what happened," he said. I braced myself, ready for him to tell me to make peace. Instead, he said, "I should have spoken up." I didn't answer right away. It took me a second to trust what I was hearing. He continued, "Your mom has said things like that for years. I told myself it wasn't that bad. But when I saw Ava, I knew it was. That was the first time anyone in my family named the problem out loud. It didn't fix everything, but it mattered." Then came the real test, the next family holiday. My mom sent a group text like she always did. "Dinner at 3. Everyone comes." No greeting, no softness, no accountability. My sister replied with hearts and "can't wait." My phone felt heavy in my hand, because I knew what they expected. Show up, smile, pretend it never happened, and let Ava absorb the message again. If I went, my boundary meant nothing. If I didn't go, I'd be the villain. I wrote, "We won't be attending this year. Hope you all have a good day." My mom called immediately. I didn't answer. I already knew she wasn't calling to understand. She was calling to pressure. She texted, "Unbelievable. Over a photo?" I stared at that message for a long time. Over a photo, like my daughter's humanity, was a minor detail. So I replied, "Not over a photo. Over how Ava was treated. We can talk when you're ready to apologize and treat her equally." No response. That holiday, we stayed home. We cooked food Ava picked. We watched movies. We made hot chocolate. We made it gentle, and something unexpected happened. Ava laughed more. She seemed lighter, like she'd been carrying stress in her little body every time we went to my mom's house, and now it was gone. That's when I realized the boundary really was changing everything, starting with the atmosphere in our own home. Weeks passed. My mom didn't reach out. Not once. And that silence told me something important. My mom didn't miss Ava enough to do the one thing that mattered, respect her. Then my mom finally texted. Not an apology, a negotiation. Can I see Ava for just 1 hour? I miss her, and I understood, with a clarity that scared me, that my mom missed access. She missed control. She missed the image of being grandma. But she didn't miss Ava enough to change. And that's when my revenge started to look less like anger and more like consequences. Because Diane had made a choice, now she was going to live in a world shaped by it. I replied, "We can talk about visits after you apologize and agree to treat her equally." My mom wrote back, "You're holding her hostage." That line is designed to trigger guilt. It's meant to make you panic and prove you're not the bad guy. But I didn't panic. I typed, "I'm not holding anyone hostage. I'm keeping my daughter safe." Then I put my phone down and walked away from it, because I was done being pulled into her emotional storms. Around that time, Ava started saying things that made me realize how deep the damage went. One day she asked, "If I'm really good, will people like me more?" Another day she said, "Maybe grandma doesn't like me because I'm not real." I sat with her on the floor and held her hands. I said, "You are real. Our family is real. Adoption doesn't make you less. It makes you chosen and loved on purpose." I also decided to get help not because Ava was broken, but because I wanted to give her the right tools. We started seeing a child therapist who specialized in adoption and family dynamics. In the first session, the therapist told me something I'll never forget. A boundary isn't a punishment. It's a door with a lock. You decide who gets a key. That sentence untangled so much guilt in my chest. Because my mom raised me to believe that love means unlimited access, that being a daughter means being available no matter how you're treated. But motherhood changed me. Motherhood made me willing to be the difficult one if it meant my child could breathe. A few weeks later, my dad invited us to lunch, just him. It was the first time he'd done that without my mom. At the restaurant, he looked nervous, like he was stepping out of an old routine. He said, "Your mom is angry. She says you're embarrassing her." I stayed quiet. Then my dad added, "But I'm proud of you." That hit me harder than I expected. I didn't know how much I'd needed to hear it. He asked if he could still see Ava. I said yes, with one condition. No comments that make her feel less. Ever. He nodded immediately. "Never," he promised. And he kept his word. He showed up for Ava's school event. He brought her a little notebook because she loves drawing. He listened to her talk like her thoughts mattered. Ava started to relax around him, like her body believed he was safe. Meanwhile, my mom stayed silent until the next big moment, Ava's birthday. We planned a small party at a park. Nothing fancy. Just friends, cupcakes, balloons, and a few kids running around like happy chaos. I didn't invite my mom, not out of spite, because she hadn't apologized, and my boundary wasn't a joke. On the day of the party, Ava wore a crown and smiled so wide it made my chest ache. She was surrounded by people who didn't question her belonging for even 1 second. Halfway through the party, I saw my mom walking toward us across the grass. My stomach tightened. She wasn't invited, but she showed up anyway because rules never felt like they applied to her. She marched right up like she owned the moment. Ava's smile faded. She moved closer to me, instinctively. My mom bent down and reached for Ava like nothing had happened. I stepped forward and said calmly, "Mom, this isn't the time." My mom's eyes narrowed. "I came for my granddaughter." I said, "You don't get to claim her in public after refusing to respect her in private." My mom's face flushed. People nearby looked over. My sister wasn't there. My dad wasn't there. It was just me, holding the line. My mom hissed, "You're making me look bad." I said, "No, your choices did that." Then I said the sentence that ended the fantasy she'd been living in. "Until you apologize to Ava and commit to treating her as full family, you don't get access. Please leave." My mom stared at me like she couldn't believe I was serious, because in her mind, I was still the daughter she could pressure into obedience. But I wasn't. Not anymore. She looked around at the parents, the kids, the balloons at the life happening without her. Then she turned and walked away. And that was the moment she finally understood the consequence. She didn't just lose a photo. She lost access to milestones, memories, the soft little moments she assumed she was entitled to. That night, after the party, Ava climbed into my lap and said, "Thank you for not letting her be mean to me." I held her close. I said, "I will always protect you." A couple of days later, my mom called. Her voice sounded tired. She said, "So you're really doing this?" I said, "Yes." She tried again. "You're choosing her over your own mother." I answered calmly, I'm choosing my child. That's what a good parent does. There was a long silence. Then my mom asked quietly, what do you want from me? I said, a real apology to Ava and a real change. No real family language. No separating her. No honesty used as cruelty. My mom started to cry, but it didn't move me the way it used to. Because tears aren't accountability, she whispered. I didn't think you'd actually cut me off. And I said, that's the problem. You thought I'd never protect her if it made you uncomfortable. She didn't apologize that day, but something shifted. Because the consequence was real now. And here's the truth. My revenge wasn't shouting or exposing her or trying to destroy her life. My revenge was simple. I stopped rewarding disrespect with access. I let her feel the empty space her own words created. And my daughter? My daughter grew up knowing she didn't have to beg for a seat at the table. If you're watching this and you're dealing with toxic family dynamics, remember, boundaries aren't cruelty. They're clarity. And protecting your child will change everything, especially the people who thought you'd never stand up.